World War III, North Korea insults could reveal Kim Jong-un's next nuclear missile test. North Korea insults could be used to predict Kim Jong-un's nuclear test schedule, a U.S. scholar has claimed. Michael Lambrou, from Mercyhurst University in Pennsylvania, has harnessed machine learning to predict the time of a nuclear test 73.2% of the time based on the threatening language from the Hermit Kingdom. He said, "The North Korean regime barks very loudly before it actually bites its intended target. Like a pitcher who unknowingly flinches before he throws a fastball, Pyongyang may unwittingly display certain patterns before it launches a military strike." Mr. Lambrou also claims to have produced a filter that can predict when the rogue state's aggressive tone does not result in an aggressive action with an accuracy of 96.7%. Mason Ritchie, an American scholar in South Korea, has also spent countless hours examining the language from Kim Jong-un that features phrases such as the desperate shrill cry of a psychopath on his deathbed and the kingpin of hideous state-sponsored terrorism and human rights tundra. The professor at Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green teamed up with computer linguist Natalia Grabart, who is familiar with propaganda following her upbringing in Ukraine during a time of Soviet brainwashing. Both developed an algorithm that uses natural language processing to detect patterns. Mr. Ritchie explained, "You can get a sense of how ingrate they are based on how many adjectives and adverbs they put before a term." The pair's research project has examined 105,788 articles. The number of scholars looking at every insult hurled from Pyongyang with meticulous detail in a hope of finding a pattern appears to be steadily increasing. The language used by the Hermit Kingdom features words that have long since been used with regularity, such as dotard, that have been directed at U.S. President Donald Trump. Mason Ritchie has read through an estimated 42,000 North Korean articles. Some of his most memorable phrases include the insult cowboy buffoon that was flung at former President George W. Bush and Japan officials that were labeled epileptic mentally deranged wretches. The scholar claimed that North Korea is the first in modern history to use such persistent, consistent, belligerent language. He claimed, "The rhetoric goes beyond repeated boilerplate stuff. They're working at this." Andrew Holloway, a British social worker who worked in the Hermit Kingdom for a year in the late 1980s, fails to see the rhetoric being as calculated, instead describing it as hopeless. He declared, "The level of propaganda is too naive and the standard of writing too low." His sentiment was echoed by Michael Harold, another Briton that worked for the Hermit Kingdom's state media during the same period, who discussed a greater focus on punctuation than wording. He said, "I would sit and discuss the position of a comma for half an hour, they were that detail-oriented."